The other collection I've got is just bigger than everything. It's physical, so.
Well, welcome everybody to the Australian Numismatic Society's April meeting. It's our meeting 1219. We have apologies from Barry Towers, Joe Detling, Ron Bolden, Marie Brad, Jim and Chanel Noble, Colin Sandy Pitchfork, Bob Clemson, Matthew Lloyd. Is there any other people that we have missed
Did you
out
say
on?
Jim Noble too?
Jim Noble.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim and Chanel.
Nothing from Rudy.
So we have to add Pat Walsh to that list.
Pat Walsh, okay. Okay, well look, we'll just move on to general business. Our auction 43, which is the auction over here, it closes at the end of our meeting tonight. Now, as usual, if there are any lots that you want to bid on, rather than us going through all 150 lots, just let Rod know the ones that you want to bid on. So if you only want to bid on 2 items, well then just let Rod know the lot numbers, and Rod will do the auction.
Only be those ones we don't want to waste time on stuff that nobody wants.
Yeah. Okay. Our next meeting here is again here at Phyllis House on the 10th of May at 8 p.m. And the topic will be explorers. So, different people on coins and banknotes, etc. Medals as well, I suppose, the explorers of medals.
Any explorer? Yeah. Captain Cook even.
Captain Cook. Now, the May meeting is going to be our last meeting for 2 months here, because the meeting after that, which is the June meeting, we won't be having a June meeting here because we're having our conference on that time. Now, the conference is at Coffs Harbour on the 12th and 13th of June. I think the Monday that we would normally have our meeting would be the 14th of June, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but because the bulk of us will be in Coffs Harbour for that day, I doubt very much we'll have a meeting here.
We'll be in traffic jams coming home.
We won't be having a meeting. I shouldn't say we might not be here. Now, the conference is definitely on. We need to confirm the members who will be attending and who will be giving a talk as well. So far, or at the moment, we have 11 registrations and 1 partner at the dinner. So we've got 12 people basically said that they are actually going to the conference.
You're going?
Yes.
Well, that's 12, and Ian's going 13, and Ross, I've already got Ross down, and where's the other one? Graham. Graham said he'd be there, so looks like we're going to have 14 at least at the conference. So
Okay, so
that's good.
The numbers are
But
better.
I need your talks. Oh, I've got your talk, Ian, but I need Graham's talk.
Right. Now the conference fee is $150, which covers both the lunches, and the Saturday night dinner, plus the. Okay, so both lunches, which is Saturday lunch and
Morning,
Sunday
afternoon
lunch.
teas and
Morning,
lunch
afternoon
both
teas.
days. Saturday night's dinner
They
and
have
the medal.
they have coffee and tea at the back of the conference room as well. Yeah, and the conference medal. All in all, it's a really good time at the conference. Like you get to talk numismatics all weekend, and you can see stuff that you've never seen before. There's people bring out their medals. We're having a display contest as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you're also thinking about doing a display, bring that along, because there is going to be a presentation for the
special
best
medal
display.
for the best display.
Right, so that's right. Right. Okay, is there any other general business?
Oh, the Ivy List meeting next John, May, yeah, we're talking about May.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was due on the 9th, being the Sunday, and that turns out to be Mother's Day, we're having it on the Saturday, on the 8th. Same place, same time. 11 a.m.
Why did it have to change to Mother's Day?
Well, that's what the meetings decided on yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Different ones said we'll get into too much trouble if we go on Mother's Day.
Mother's the bosses.
So I made it Saturday, 11 a.m.
They could go to the meeting with you. Couple of numbers. Fair enough, okay. The Royal Australia Mint put out issued their new coloured $2 coin for the
Indigenous.
the Indigenous members that went into the military. I think they call it Indigenous military coin.
Yeah.
So that's now available as well. So
They also put out a special $5 coin, bimetallic, with silver and copper, with gold plating in, for the Paralympics team going to Japan. The only trouble was, well, it's not a real trouble, but I couldn't get one because they only produced 500 of them.
yeah,
And by the time I found out, they're all gone.
yeah, I ordered a couple.
That's low.
I ordered a couple and got none. So
Yeah, I mean, it's $350, but I was prepared to pay that, so perhaps they did me a favour.
Are hard to get to because Chris, my son, was in Canberra a couple of days ago and he said they're out of them again at the Mint.
Mm.
So somebody's been buying great hunks of them and trying to sell them on Facebook. The $2 Aboriginal, Indigenous.
Aboriginal coin, yeah.
all right. Well, anyway,
Yeah, there's a little bit more in here. Someone brought,
Right for us.
Scotty DeYoung brought this along. Coronavirus killed cash transactions. Now we're hoarding it instead. It's about us hoarding banknotes, but it doesn't mention collectors. I'll just read one. But for $50 notes, the ones many of us don't hold as often, there are an improbable 37 per person in circulation, 947 million. For $100 notes, the ones some of us never see, it is 17 per person. I don't have that. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Somebody might want to have a look at it.
Didn't they also say that small change is disappearing as well? As it's all being kept in jars in people's houses, that no one is actually spending small change any longer.
I am.
The shops won't accept them.
yeah, well, you don't get change with tap and go, so you don't get any small change.
And did anybody take note of the Noble auction?
I took a lot of note.
Yeah, it's driving me crazy, the interest in misstruck coins.
Yeah.
They're paying unreal prices for that. And then I was in seeing Jim the other day, and a guy comes in and picks up his lots, 2 florins, one a Royal Visit and one the Melbourne Centenary, $61,000.
Oh.
True.
And apparently, I won't mention names, but apparently he sold them for a lot higher at some period before. And you just shake it, honestly, I can't come to terms with it. I find
He's
it
still
unbelievable.
living in the past, thinking the prices are that high.
Oh, well, then you get on the other hand, I was trying to sell a Sydney Mint Sovereign, 1857, and I had a reserve of 4,000 on it. It was a coin that graded better than one I sold in 1980 that went for 40,000. And as I say, I was trying to get 4,000 for this one, and we got to 3,600 and passed in. So, it's intriguing, and yet they'll pay thousands of dollars more for misstruck coins.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, if you saw the IAG sales, they're manufactured. They're ones that come definitely in the back pocket of somebody out of the mint.
Bet your life, I suppose.
One more, the banknotes. We were at the IBNS meeting yesterday, and it really surprises what the massive the depth of collections some people have. It was on Netherlands and the colonies. Fabulous collections, they really do have. But some of them are now slabbed, of course. And then they're driving me mad again because they've gone to a new grading system where they describe it as superb gemunk. And anyway.
That's an overkill, isn't it?
Superb gemunk. I'm waiting for beautiful or magnificent to be added as well.
When we have our tea later on, have a look at the milk in the milk container. So it's sort of macro milk or whatever it is, and it's, you'd like this, Tony, it's thin skim milk.
Skim,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. And it says this is low fat milk, but it's not from low fat cows. Okay. I saw that and I thought, okay.
I borrowed a gym money book from John over here, and I was delighted in finding a letter from McCracken, the note printer in the 1940s, referring to the front and back of banknotes, whereas so often we see them described as obverse and reverse.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the early meetings with Mark Freehill with the IBNS here, that we decided that it was going
Front
to
and back.
be front and back.
Yeah.
Much easier.
Can I just add to your milk thing? My wife's now found you can buy, and she's buying it because it's supposed to be better, compressed milk.
Compressed.
Compressed, yeah.
Some
Somehow they put it in the bottle and then they compress it while it's in the bottle. Sealed.
Maybe you get more in the bottle.
How that works.
Has anyone seen milk spelt differently? I'm now saying soy milk isn't milk, and so I've seen the word milk spelt M-I-L-L-K.
Oh dear.
Because it doesn't come from a cow.
Okay. Right, look, topic for the night is gold. You know, they can take in a number of things. You can bring all your nuggets along. You can bring out your gold coins. I don't know what else we can bring as far as gold is concerned. You get gold teeth. You can smile at the camera.
You might have just certificates from,
Certificates.
you know, the bullion people. You don't actually have the physical, which I
And then,
wouldn't do.
What? So?
I don't trust anybody enough not to have the physical.
Okay, so can I have a show of hands as who wants to display? Okay. Well, we can start with Grant, I think, and he can show us all his Dutch gold proclamation coins.
Yeah.
So he sort of beat me too.
Could I just have one word before Grant starts? I got the latest bank statement in the mail today, so I thought I'd bring it in to show everybody that we have a very healthy bank account, unlike our treasurer sort of 10 years ago who was stealing our money. It's all there. The closing balance was $7,800, and I haven't moved it out of the bank yet because we might actually be producing some journals and things soon.
Oh yeah, with Judy.
Good. From Judy, which would be great.
Okay.
So it's here for everyone to view. Every time at these meetings you give me money for the medals and everything else you buy, and I write the receipt. When I go home, the first thing I do is go through the receipt book and transfer from my account into the ANS account. Here, so you'll see Rod Cell M. Lloyd medals, Rod Cell M. Lyon medals, Rod Cell P. Walsh medals, and then the amount there, you know, about $20, $20. So every item is not only recorded in the receipt book, it's recorded on the statement.
We know you're honest and ridiculous.
There. Thank you.
All right. Starting with my smallest coin from my proclamation series.
Very nice.
Staff of Elder. There you go there. Nice little thing.
Very nice.
Is it
Amazing
as good as our medal, though?
It's amazing they being that small and managing to survive that long.
Yeah.
There's a little god.
Somehow by looking at those dots you're supposed to be able to tell which mint it comes from. I read that somewhere. I think it's in the proclamation book. And then we go to one of my earlier half-sov.
What year is that?
1862.
Nice Sydney mint piece.
What date is it?
1862?
86.
1862.
Yeah. 1862.
And then one of my earlier sovereigns. Seen a little bit of transaction with a few little scratches there, but
Is that a 64? Yeah.
I like that. It means it's been used. It still looks very nice. And this is probably one a lot of people have in their collection. The Brisbane Commonwealth Games. I think that was pretty much
82.
my first coin I bought.
Very nice.
And then, as you were talking about gold certificates, this is basically a gold certificate because it is from the Treasurer of the Commonwealth promising to pay the bearer a half sovereign, being a half sovereign note.
Have you tried to cash it in?
No.
They give you half sovereign and the cops will grab you when you go out the door.
Nice.
And then one of my most recent sovereigns, from the Perth Mint, of course. Where's the date on that? The 2016, having a face value of $25, but costing a lot more to buy than that. It's only I think the production on that at the time was down to 1,500. I
Yeah.
think that's even dropped even further now, down to about 1,000 now. I think they're only doing per run.
What year was that? 2016?
This is the last one I bought. I missed out on a couple. Now this is an interesting little thing that my father picked up at an auction. It looks pretty, doesn't it? It feels weighty, but it's not real. If you take it out of the box, it's a bottle opener. But when we bought that back in 2010, if it had been real, it was had a value of about 48,000. And yesterday, having this topic coming up, I jumped on, looked at the Perth Mint, saw it. This is supposedly weigh, if it was real, it would weigh 1¼ kilos. So going through their value of what their bullion is for sale, that would now be worth about $99,000 for a lump of gold that big. That's just a few examples of bits and pieces kicking around home.
Thanks, Graham. Who's up to that? John. There's one in front of you. John, you got something to say?
Yeah. Different sort of gold. In the, well, not quite fool's gold, but in the 1930s, when the Soviet Union was trying to buy stuff from places like Germany, America, England, nobody wanted to take rubles, because the rubles were being printed and inflating and that sort of thing. So they started producing what they call the chervonets, which is, the name was based on a gold coin from before the revolution. And these are reproductions. That's one chervonet, that's 3 chervonetza, and what they were backed by gold and by foreign currency. So they had enough gold reserves and enough foreign currency, hard currency, to be able to back them up and give them genuine value. And theoretically you could change rubles for these things too, but I think the KGB would have had a word with you if you tried that. So these are reproductions by Goznak, the Russian printing people. This is 5, and it's interesting too, this, 1 is a chervonets, 3 is chervonsa, and these are chervontsev, 5 chervontsev or 10 chervontsev. So, but they don't have just 2 words for singular and plural, they've got one in between as well. And there's a 25, and then a later version of a chervonets. And then they changed the printing style altogether. These are genuine ones, they're not just reproductions. These ones were done in 1926. So that's already started doing that sort of thing then. There's a 1, and there's different signatures on those, that's why there's 2 different ones there. And there's a 2 there. And there's a 3, and then from I forget which year, this is 1930 something, but Lenin's on there for 1, another 1 and a 5, no, sorry, a 3. There's a 5 and a 10, all from that series. 1937. And these 2, not this one, that's a ruble, worthless. But these 2 are actually gold rubles. 1 gold ruble and 5 gold rubles. And they're from 1934. So they were gold of a sort. They were paper promises that you could actually get that gold or foreign currency instead of having to accept rubles. If you're a German industrialist or a British exporter or something, you didn't want to be paid in rubles, but these things would have value.
foreign currency did they use? Sterling or US dollars?
Whatever they had.
Whatever they had,
Hard currency.
yeah.
So, you know, American dollars, sterling, German marks, I suppose Swiss francs, whatever was available.
Uh-huh.
I take it didn't include some of, you know, like the Greek drachma or anything like that.
These were other, there's no problem.
I'll just leave that here.
That the Russians have gone back to an old-fashioned method of doing trade. They are lining their troops on the borders of countries.
Yes.
They've taken over the Crimea and they've just moved more troops onto the
That's what everybody else did, isn't it? It's what the English did, it's what the Americans did. Chinese are doing it now.
The biggest worry with Russia, they've taken over the Arctic.
Ah,
They have actually,
Right.
because sometime in the 1990s, some Russian submarine went, because it's ice, some Russian submarine went through and a scientific experiment planted a Russian flag exactly over the North Pole. And it was pointed out at the time that it had nothing to do with science, it had to do with the fact that with global warming, they're looking forward to being able to do a lot of mining and development in that area.
Yes.
And they've already got their flag there.
That's dead right.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Iceland very happy with global warming because of it? A lot of their land was snow-free and they could begin to do farming.
That's right.
Yeah. And they're also beginning to do a lot of, the warm water fish are beginning to swarm around there too, so the fishing industry's picking up too. Not going to do us much good though, we're not going to be able to live here, it's going to be too hot. Don't know how much room there is in Iceland.
Where is she going?
Yes,
From last time.
yes, winter's arrived.
Let's go.
Taken the liberty of bringing my scrapbook in. As all you may know that I have very little medallics left, but in there's some nice little interesting bits about medals, gold medals, etc. that I might show you. But firstly, on my own side of the fence, I have one little piece here which is a gold replica, if you can call it, but they were originally given in gold. Royal Agricultural Society of New South Wales, which I had the pleasure of helping put their museum together from 1979, and they gave me a little medal. It's a life membership badge, and but it's not gold. It's sterling silver gilded. When I went to them in the first place to make inquiries about a certain medal, which started my era with them, I went and saw the secretary, and she said, I was asking about medals, of course, and she said, we have no medals here. Might be some down under the old clock, etc. And if you know the old clock, there was a storage underneath, and the carpenters and everything had all the material there. And underneath all that material was all the archives, all their minutes, and there were a group of ladies who had just become aware that they should preserve a little of their heritage, because next year they're going to be 200 years old. Getting back to this little fellow, I brought this one along. I do have an original, which is 18 carat, and they, during after the Second World War at any rate, they went to gilding, if you can call it so, and they, in my effort to get to see their collection or what they had. They said, yes, come over to Under the Crop. And they brought out a little bag, and in it was a bag of the medals. The criteria when anyone was made a life member and given the badge, when they died, that medal had to come back. And it was in a little bag, and there were about 50 in it. And I think they still got them.
I don't think there's any
Anyway,
back.
I've got one which is in a collection at my son's place. I gave him my agricultural medal. I have a full collection of them from about 1900, and he's commandeered that. And in it is one of the gold ones, and I couldn't get hold. He wouldn't have loaned it. He was away. Anyway, I'll leave it, Rod, for let you to have a little look at that. Yes, I had a lovely time with the RAS, about 40 odd, 50 years, and I helped them put their museum together, and 200 years coming up, I hope they're going to do justice to it all. My agricultural collection medals went to them, and I bought a number of medals in my period of time there, and it's all there. And you can go and view it whenever you wish. It's there for you to have a look at. And but if I can just bear with you, or bear with me, I've got a few little markings here. This comes from a notation in one of the magazines some time ago, and it's a medal for the Food and Health Show Melbourne, 22nd, 1896. It's in 9-carat gold, and I'll give you this in a moment, Rod, to show. But I'd like to make the point, the page here is a page out of Stokes' daybooks, and it relates the actual number that were made in old Tom Stokes' handwriting. And it says 12-carat gold, cost £8, and there was a silver one and a bronze one done, total of £9, 7 and 6. But that's by way of interest also. That copy came from Stokes' daybooks. I spent a whole week down there one period and photocopied all the medallic interests that I could find. My wife at my side. I took my own copier down to Melbourne and my ink and my paper and everything, and I sat in there and copied as much. And if anyone is looking and wishes to see some of this now, it's over the road at the library. I've donated all my data to the library. Not all of it, I've still got some of it at home, but all these records of the Stokes daybooks are there. And
So which library?
State Library.
State Library.
Yes.
Okay.
They're just across the road from Nobles, and that's a copy of it there. I would like it. If we can just show this. I've got another reference there that I'd like to make. Something. The handwriting is copybook right through the whole book, just beautiful. And the medal itself was
Got a little flower pot there.
Yes.
Or is it a toilet seat?
I don't know what it is. It's actually a day book, day by day. They did that. Health. And there's the pricing on the bottom.
£9, 7 and 6.
There. I was able to get all my metage figures from these records, which appear in the book. and it was very beneficial to me, very. Anyway, that's that one, but there's one special one here that hasn't been seen. There, if I could just show that one. I'll just read what it is, what it says here. It says it's a gold medal with ribbon and engraved on it is presented by Royal Highness Prince of Wales. The date on it is 1880, and it was presented to Frederick Morgan for bravery among Aboriginals in crossing the desert plains of South Australia, 1879-1880. And that's all about it there. And I think it's hidden away in one of the national museums now. But I don't think it's ever been shown. It was sent to me by somebody. But anyway, another little one. I deviate from. There we go. No, can't find it. No, sorry. Anyway, it's. I'll let anyone have a look at that if they wish to have a look later. And anyway, I'll take that, will I?
Photograph.
I'll leave that there for you. Thank you.
Good study,
David.
Should come up there or where are you
Yeah.
doing it? No, just here with it. Might stand in front of it.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, gold is of interest to most of us, I think, for all sorts of reasons. First of all, it's a very pretty metal. Make it nice and shiny, as that beautiful Proof Sovereign showed. How you can get a real mirror finish on it when you do it. And it's generally accepted, and has been throughout history, as being a good store of value. In fact, one of the points I'd like to make is that when gold was used as a medium of exchange well before they started using coins. Way back in BC times, everyone treasured it, and it is scarce, as you know, when the Greeks decided to be good to coin money, initially their preference was silver, because not quite so rare, still a nice metal, took a lovely strike. But they did mint Greeks did mint coins in 500 BC and on there, in gold, certainly for emergency purposes. That's why Greek coins in gold are quite a lot scarcer than their silver coins. It's despite the fact that silver coins are in beautiful condition, one of the great treasures of the world. And this was followed by Romans. They seem to have access to more gold and gold mines and plenty of slaves to mine it. And so Romans minted in gold too, and gold continued right through the centuries, right up basically to World War One. After World War One, it just got too hard for people to mint gold, and what they ended up doing was depriving people of having valuable stuff as a medium of exchange. They said, no, you've got to use all this valueless stuff and we'll look after the gold for you. Arrogance completely, but they got away with it. And, it's a pity. And I, for one, I'm not sure how it's going to last, because all this money, free money issuing that they're doing for the COVID emergency, first of all, had currency still been in gold or silver or precious something, they wouldn't have been able to do it. They can't just turn that on, but they can, I mean, don't forget, it's not even money printing. We call it money printing, but it's just entries in people's computers, that's all it is. And so we are seeing, I'm not sure how far it'll go, whether it'll be the end of fiat. You know, you've heard that expression, fiat currency. That is, someone in power declared this to be valuable. We all know it's not. But we pretend it is. Unfortunately, other people will take it in exchange for stuff that is valuable. I would like to see us step back a bit from that. I think, well, I'm in the minority, I'd have to tell you that. The Governor of the Reserve Bank would completely disagree with me on this, giving all sorts of reasons why it shouldn't be so. But my thesis is that if it lasted throughout history till World War I, and now we're in this experimental period of only about 100 years, and how long is it going to last? How long? It's like the Emperor's clothes, you know. Oh, look, you haven't got any clothes. That's the way it's going to end. Anyway, so I thought I'd just start, if you don't mind. I didn't bring too many coins, but I bought coins which I think are pretty. I like pretty coins. And I like classic coins too. They've got to have a story behind them, a history behind them. So I'm not too keen on things like Krugerrands and so on, which are minted just for their bullion value. In fact, I've realised myself too, having come up through numismatics, I could never be a collector of bullion coins in the hope that their gold value would go up. I'd never be. I always want an uncirculated one, or at least a nice, good VF stuff. And you've got to pay a numismatic premium for that, which means that you know, they're not perhaps worth as much as you do pay if you're just thinking of gold value. Anyway, so half a dozen coins. I'll leave them with the right and so on, and I'll just explain them. Over the ages, they're loose in their packets, so try not to tip them out. But what are we looking at there? This is a Greek stater of the Macedonian kingdom, minted under the reign of Philip II, who was the father of Alexander the Great. And many of this type, the stater as they're called, has a picture of Apollo, actually, the god. The Greeks like to use gods rather than real people. But eventually, he started using images which look more and more like his son. So you do get this type minted where portraits with his son. But the reverse is really beautiful. It's that little K up the top, that's the engraver's signature, and that's valuable in its own right. But it's beautifully centred with the two horses prancing there, and the chariot rider, and it's probably celebration of Philip winning some prize in the Olympic Games, chariot racing. And if you can just look at the characters underneath, can everyone know the Greek alphabet? The phi there, the phi. Yeah, phi for Philip, that's right. The iota, and then the lambda, Philly, and then the double P, two pi's, Philippoi, and it'll be in genitive case, which means it's understood a coin of Philip. So that's what it says. And you know your history about it. He was assassinated at some point, and Alexander took over and conquered half the world. So Greeks did have them, and especially the Macedonians. The earlier Greek coins are rarer. And the next one I have, just to prove the point about the Roman Empire, which took over the Greek Empire, is the pretty little aureus of Titus. Titus, as you know, his claim to fame, apart from being a first century emperor, was to lead the Roman legions to conquer Jerusalem and destroy the temple. And Titus's column in Rome shows all the Ark of the Covenant and all the Jewish religious icons that were taken out of the temple by the Roman legions. So that's Titus for you. But if I give you a numismatic message, if you can afford this stuff, this is the stuff to collect. This stuff will never lose value. Who cares what gold does? It's all so rare and so important historically. You know, a collection of Roman aureae, you can't go wrong if you're looking for stuff to collect. Very valuable these days though, and it doesn't get any cheaper. Okay, the next one, however, is something maybe that is not so difficult to collect, but I just picked it because I think A, it's a pretty coin, and B, it's got significance. After the Roman Empire fell apart in the west and collapsed under the barbarian invasions, the Eastern Empire, centred on Constantinople, kept on going, and they minted a series of gold chook coins all the way up pretty much to the fall of Constantinople to the Turks in the 15th century. This one is about 7th century, and it's a coin of Justinian II. We're showing there the bearded figure, and then with his beardless son, his obvious successor. Just flip it over. It's one of the reasons I like it. It's one of the first coin portraits of Jesus Christ. You know, under Justinian II, that's the first time that Christian Empire minted portraits of Jesus. There's another one which looks completely different, also minted by Justinian, which I didn't bring along.
What's supposed to be the thing around his ears?
He's got a cross, you see, there's a cross behind him.
Oh, I can
Yeah, that's right.
Gee whizzes.
Yeah, simple enough, yeah. Robin sticky out ears. Not at all. Look, you've seen medieval coins before, and the medieval coins are still one of my great loves. But we just have to jump way ahead now, another almost 1,000 years, to this one here, a milled coin, and one of the very first milled coins, dated 1640, and it's anyone guess what it is? I must admit, the portrait looks very much like Charles II of England, right? That's because Charles was his nephew.
So it's a French one, yeah?
Resemblance. This is Louis XIII. He died in 1643. 1640, he was still a vigorous man, quite a good-looking man, and you can see there, LUD, that's Ludovicus, in XIII, the 13th, Tres, DG, by the grace of God,
FR.
F, Fur et Nav, that's France and Navarre, Rex, king. He was king of France and Navarre. Navarre was a sort of a territory, not quite in France, but down on the Spanish border there. So, but look, I love louis d'or, and they weren't quite as valuable as the concurrent English coinage, but the French did get the milling much earlier, 100 years earlier than the English did, and they had a wonderful series of gold coins. This is the one louis d'or. You can get 8 and 10 louis d'or in the one coin, and they were minted specially for the king. He loved gambling, and so that was what he used as his gambling chips with his rich friends. He liked to win too.
Got a nice A there, so it's Paris.
Yeah, the reverse is lovely. The 8 L's, you can see the cross is made of 8 L's, and A means a Paris mint. Each mint, even they minted a lot of these regionally, but A was the Paris and probably the most common mint. Yeah, a lovely design. That was continued right through under his successors. A little bit later, but not much. The English guinea. Now, classics, English guineas. I say, if you want to collect something that is going to appreciate over the years, trouble is we're all getting old and we won't live to enjoy it, but maybe your children will. English guineas, they never stop getting less value, they never go down. The ultimate, of course, is not only the single guinea, a collection of 5 guinea pieces of each of the issuing kings or queens. 5 guineas now, in anything reasonable, we're talking about £50,000 a coin. Okay, and who minted them? Well, Charles II, James II, William and Mary, William by himself,
And yes.
all the Georges, George I, II, III, that's about it. And yeah, they'll set you back a few bob, but they are spectacular, lovely coins. I can't go to the 5 guineas. They can also collect them in 2 guineas if you like. They're pretty rare too. But just a single guinea is hard enough to get a collection of everyone who's minted them.
Nice
But
little Queen Anne.
here's the Queen Anne,
Yeah.
a nice one. Now I know this one, Queen Anne. Probably I bought it about 30 years ago. I remember paying $800 for it.
Congratulations.
And that was those days they didn't charge buyer's premium either, just $800. Jim used to, Jim Noble, he used to charge the vendor the commission rather than the buyer. Those things you can't get for less than £5,000 now in similar condition. It's just, it's good stuff to put aside. And they're nothing to do with the gold value. The fact that they are gold is important, but it's just the scarcity in people and the desire to people. And last one, this is a recent one. I had to pay a bit of money for this, but not too much because it's not a brilliant sample of it. Of course, in the 19th century, you know, the conqueror, Napoleon. You know, he didn't believe in notes and stuff, you know, it was all about gold and silver and...
Imperator.
And this is a coin
Emperor.
of Italy. Napoleon, in his early years, was given the charge of the army of Italy. And he won every battle he fought pretty much in Italy. And he formed the first, if you like, the first kingdom of Italy. That was, you know, and got rid of the Austrians from the north of Italy. And this is a 40-year piece. That was in an auction just a couple of months ago. So not the last one, but the one before, I think. Now that's just a sample. But now I just wanted to talk about gold and gold bullion in case you thought that was a good investment. Warren Buffett, anyone heard of him? He's a famous American investor, right? His advice is, don't have anything to do with gold. His advice is, if you've got certain money, you remember, everyone must know the parable of the talents in the Bible, right? You know that. The servant who was given the gold talents, and he thought the best thing he could do for his master is bury them and keep them safe till his master returned. The other servant, he was given a similar thing. He invested his, and by the time master came back, he could give him his gold talents and all the other stuff he'd accumulated too by all the returns on investments. So, you know, gold is not really for big lumps invested forever. Like it'll never be a bigger lump than the one you start with. Okay. Gold, on the other hand, it's not how I see money should be used. If you've got surplus money, you do invest it, and the more surplus you've got, the longer term you can afford to invest in. But you do need something for the transactions of the day, a certain amount of wealth which is easy to access. And I'd rather see that in gold than bits of plastic. That's my feeling. Now, there are a lot of people say, oh, how you can't possibly have gold as a circulating medium. There's not enough of it in the world. I want to tell you a really important statistic I found out. How much gold is there in the world that's been mined and up and available? Would you believe 165,000 metric tonnes? Now it's still a small amount in the sense that would probably, you know, easily fit in this building. But it's still an awful lot when you come to think of how much gold, how valuable, 165,000 tonnes. And every coin I've showed here was minted before, well, almost minted before the 19th century, but certainly well before the 20th century started. Now the statistic is that of that 165,000 tonnes, 144,000 tonnes has been has been mined and dug up since 1900. And in fact, because of modern mining techniques and going deeper and so on, they're managing to keep up. It's pretty much they're mining it and putting new money is coming out almost the same as the rate of population growth of the earth. That's so. There is in fact plenty of gold, and it's the later years now that they've got more automated, mechanised mining and so on. They're digging it out. The year's production roundabout at the moment is 2,500 tonnes per annum. Now, I want you to imagine that. It's a block 5 metres by 5 metres by 5 metres tall, 24 karat gold. That's a year's production of the earth of its mines. They are starting to worry about that they're not finding new mines so much. A lot of this is coming out of places, say, like Kalgoorlie. Kalgoorlie has got that super pit there. It started off in the 19th century, or when they found it. It was just around about the turn of the century. And they're digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and the deeper they get, the richer it's getting. Anyone know about the Fosterville mine? Ever heard of that? Just out of Bendigo. They stopped mining, the old timers stopped mining in Bendigo because the water, they couldn't get rid of the water that was flooding all their pits, you see, and they could only go down so deep. Nowadays, pumps are fantastic. People can dewater a mine in half a day. And so the Fosterville mine, they found it. And the deeper they went below Bendigo, the richer the gold they got. And it's just amazing. It's the richest gold mine in Australia, the Fosterville mine. And, you know, visible gold, they see it, whereas most mines, you know, if you get half a gram a tonne of dirt, it's difficult. But their extraction methods are getting better too. So the answer is there's plenty of gold to go around. Nobody's going to be short of it. But it's still scarce and it's still desirable. The other thing is too, recently, as Rod noted in the little email he sent out, recently gold has been falling in value. Yeah. It's true, you know, on an objective, why is this, you might say? Well, gold will go up with inflation, but we're not having any at the moment. And the more interest rates, especially long-term interest rates that people can get for just paper dollars, the less gold is valuable, because gold itself doesn't have get any interest. So if you're getting interest for dollars, say on a 10-year bond of 1.5% or whatever it's around now, you'll end up after 10 years. You'll end up after 10 years with the same lump of gold, assuming no inflation, and yet you'll end up with more dollars, and you can still buy that lump of gold at that price, and you'll have the interest you'll get as well. So that's why gold is, and there is a direct relationship between what you might call gold itself, the value of gold, and the real interest rate, not the interest rate nominal, the interest rate over inflation. Now, if there really is no much inflation now and some positive interest, that's bad for gold. On the other hand, if the interest is such that it's not enough to compensate for inflation, then gold will be great to own. And we're just waiting around to see all these stimulus measures in America, to see whether that's going to play. Everyone wants inflation, they say, all the reserve banks, they want inflation, the Fed and all of that. Whether it really happens, and if it does, you can bet your boots, gold bullion will go up. Anyway, that's probably the stop there. Thank you.
Okay. Now I'll go to George. George probably has to go home, so George.
Can I stand there? I don't want to stand with my back to the President.
Stand wherever you like.
Gold. It's a wonderful word, gold, in the English Anglo-Saxon language. Gothic and Northern European, geld, gelder, Geldschein. Latin, oro in Italian, de or in French, oronzo in Spanish, Slavic languages, zloto, zlotish, zolotin. India, who's a great gold hoarder and buyer, sonat, and Chinese, Cantonese, a gum is the word for gold. I'm a great gold collector and have been a trader for some time. I first traded my first gold coin at the age of 6. Whether you believe that or not, I'll prove it to you. I have a very comprehensive collection of Australian and English coins, and American, and a variety of European. The beauty and the curse of the first Australian sovereigns, this 1855, sorry, was one of the first coins to indicate the value on it. It actually says half sovereign. Never before on a guinea, a third or a half a guinea was the indication of it. This is the 1855, and the last one was the 1870. Strangely enough, a lower mintage than the previous last 2 years. After that, it followed with the Queen Victoria young head with the mint mark at the bottom of the neck. M for Melbourne, S for Sydney. And guess what happened? We lost the value of the coin. There's no indication of what it is. And American coins, unless you can speak English, a quarter would mean nothing to me, or a dime. On our metric decimal coins, we have 5 cents written, 5, 10, 20, and 50 cents. This is an American $20 known as the Gideon's Double Eagle, a 1904, and on it they put $20. The word was 20 just appeared on the bottom until they decided to put dollars on it. And also above the eagle, the motto, "In God We Trust." I have here a Proud's catalogue, or junk mail, whatever you want to call it, selling jewellery. A lot of it made in Asia and some Italian. Jewellers were the biggest destructors. Jewellery were the biggest destructors of coins, gold coins especially. I have a very, what I classify as a very nice Greek coin, a 1981 of 5,000 drachma. The mintage of it, strangely enough, was very, very low. The coin came out only in proof. This particular specimen, which commemorates the Pan-Euro Games, which is the ancient Olympic Games, has a surround welded onto the coin, destroying this coin of only 560,000 mintage in proof only. Having spent some 6 years in Europe and a small time in the States, I was forced, due to my addiction, which was my sport, of having to deal in coins, in gold coins, for 2 dealers here in Australia. And being bilingual, or in a few languages, I tried to persuade the people in the province that I lived in France, which is Strasbourg. It's right on the Rhine. On the other side of the Rhine was West Germany. Strasbourg, Alsace, was very known for its Riesling wine, a white wine. Jean-Louis Philippe would be working, which he did all his life, and his parents, growing grapes. In his time, he was importing them from Morocco, crushing them and making Riesling wine. When it came to the end of the year and he found himself with a lot of money, he was afraid to put it in the bank, because while I was there, France managed to devalue by 10%. That means if you had a buying power of $100, now you only had a buying power of $90. So what did all these Italian, French and Spanish and other farmers, they would rush off to the banks and buy gold coins. The most common coin was the Swiss 20 francs, the French 20 francs. I have one here of Belgium, Leopold II, 20 francs. And all these coins and the American coins were only 900 fine, 90%. Whereas the beauty of the English sovereign was 22 carat, which was 91.67. And believe it or not, but the sovereign was just a gram, over 1.5 grams bigger than the European 20 Swiss or French, Belgian 20 francs, or the German 1 mark pieces from the German states like Baden-Baden, Bavaria, Schleswig-Holstein, etc., etc., etc. So, while there, and my old friend and mentor, a chap called Jack O'Connor. Would you remember Jack O'Connor, Les?
Yeah.
And another chap called Laurie Nugent. I got in touch with them and told them that I was travelling all the time through Switzerland, Italy, and France, up and down. And I've been going to the banks, having an account in Basel, in Switzerland. And I was always inquiring, like I do today when I go to the bank, have you got any paper money handed in? Would you believe it, the other day, I got 6 uncirculated $1 Crimson Wilson, very common, $1 banknotes. So, and I would be buying Australia reverse sovereigns, which I was financed by Jack O'Connor, whose son, by the way, works for Jim Noble now.
Yeah.
And Laurie Nugent. While in West Germany, in Wiesbaden, 3 or 4 days a week for a while, I used to work for a coin dealer, Mr. Ludwig Schwab. And he would give me and trust me with a lot of American crispy greenback dollars, 5 and 10, never 20 or 50, as I was going behind the Iron Curtain to advertise and tell them that I'm buying gold and certain European crowns and coins. And I did come across some beautiful Australia reverse sovereigns. Why? Why were they unpopular and everyone shunned away from them? The composition of the Australian Sydney Mint Australia reverse sovereigns was gold, 92.5, and the rest was silver. And it gave it a sickly gold look. Whereas your American and other European coins were gold and copper. The copper gave you the red, the nice red shiny thing. And all the farmers and working, and even in the industry, people would shun away from the Australian sovereign because, oh, different colour, bit risky. This is my year's savings, you know. So they would be after English sovereigns or Australia after 1870. I think I once told you, I've managed to pick up a 1855 half sovereign with a minute hole in it. I paid 10% below gold value. In 1966, gold was $82.60 American. Mind you, there was £2 to an English pound in those days. and the dollar, the US dollar was also different. And I paid next to nothing for the half sovereign, and I sold it to a chap in here who took it to China, and it was repaired, and the hole was filled in. I had to give him a little bit of scrap gold of the same composition, gold and silver, and they fixed it for him, and I couldn't tell it with a magnifying glass, and 3 or 4 other people had a look at it and couldn't tell the repair job. So that's that. About being a gold trader at the age of 6, this will cost you 160 seconds. I was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1937. Bombed out in 39. After a lot of hassle, left Germany very much to the disappointment of a certain Gestapo officer who was blackmailing my mother because she was a countess before she married Mr. Pulowski. And we went to Salonika in Greece in 1940, where we were bombed by the Italians the next day. Hopped onto due to an Australian soldier, the late Philip Davis from Chatswood. He kicked a bloke out of the boat with his donkey and 2 goats and put us on. And we went to Turkey, where I lived in Ankara for 6 years, from 1940 to 46. For the first 2 years of my schooling, I went to a French school. A very long walk to catch a bus, a 1930 Russian bus with no door, no front door, took us down to equivalent to Central, Ulus in Ankara, Central here in Sydney. A long walk through by the jail and the Turkish bazaar. Up on the hill was a small Catholic chapel with a sacristy with 2 or 3 rooms which are used as classrooms. All the children there were foreign, from consulates, etc., and people who avoided the German. There was no stranger love, no Jewish. And that was my 2 years of schooling in a French school. The courtyard was about a yard, about 4 times the size of this hall that you see here. A very steep wall with an old Crusader castle up on top. On our break, instead of playing games or anything like that, we would pick up a human rib, which was useless, or some other bone, unless you could find a horse or a donkey shin bone or a hip bone, and start digging in this gravel looking for coins. Why? Because for 3 bronze or copper coins, there was a Armenian tobacconist down the bottom of the school who would give you 3 marbles, 1 marble for 3 of these coins. And a silver coin would give you a small kaleidoscope. Do you know what that is? It's a thing that you look through. My brother, who was older than me, found a gold coin, and he got a pocket knife for it, a little pocket knife. On my second year, he found a broken sabre, which was ideal for gouging and digging in there. After the rains especially, a lot of the stuff was washed out. We picked up some nice coins, and digging there, I actually came across a gold coin, about the size of a half sovereign, which I have in here. Maybe just a bit larger, and it wasn't Roman or Greek. And I took it to Mr. Suleiman, the tobacconist, and he gave me a pocket knife, which was a very, very bad deal, because I couldn't open the pocket knife with my 5-year-old or 6-year-old fingernails. The thing was, there was no plastic, so it had the thing made out of bone or ivory or whatever, okay? Something like that. And when my father heard about it, he took control of all the coins we collected. But that wasn't the end of it. There was a prison on the way to school up the hill, and in the morning we saw the prisoners with holding a ball and chains around their ankles, walking around. My elder brother, who was 2.5 years older than me, was very ingenious. Above us lived an American family, and they had a lot of parties. And apparently, I was told later on that the people were shot down airmen who went to a neutral country to get back to their squadrons or get back to the Allied territory. And these guys were smokers, and they would smoke and from the balcony throw the cigarette butts. They never heard of an ashtray. They would just throw the cigarette butts on the lawn. In the morning, we would go and pick up these cigarette butts, get the tobacco out, and these prisoners, a big, tall chap with a big beard, we indicated a nice big flat rock and told him that there was tobacco there, showed him tobacco, to put coins for us. And sure enough, we always had a big supply of this tobacco, and at one time there was too many coins to carry home. They was too heavy. We didn't exactly have carrying bags and things like that in those days. There was a Canadian girl with us. She was the same age as my brother, but much taller and bigger, and she helped us carry some of them home. And on my last one of my days, I always kept on falling over and grazing my knees, and I would have bandages and some dark brown ointment to keep it dry. The school teacher would tell me to hop outside and sit in the sun and get more sun on it and dry it up. Of course, I was in the playground up against the thing with my brother's broken sabre, looking for more coins. And these coins that I traded for marbles paid off quite well later on, when I spent 2 years in Beirut playing marbles. And one of the coins that were very unpopular were Palestinian 50 and 100 mil silver coins. A friend of my father's told me that they were silver coins and they would be good to keep. And they were the most unpopular thing because 46 to 48, Palestine changed into Israel. And I want a lot of these things, and we didn't have enough money for me and my brother to have a trip to Jerusalem to see Nazareth, the birthplace of Christ. But my father said we would pay with these 100 mil coins and 50, and they agreed, and we got a trip to Palestine. I can say I've been to Palestine. And that's a story, but that wasn't gold coins. Back on the gold coins, I once spoke to you in the days when gold was starting to go through the roof, and I had a lot of scrap gold, broken chains and damaged rings, and I had an Australian sovereign which was clipped on the bottom, and I just took them to sell them for gold value. In front of me was a lady in the queue, and she put 2 gold coins, and the lady behind the bar said, "They're not sovereigns, they're only half sovereigns." No, they're not. They were left to my father, 2 for me and 2 for my sister, and in the will it says they're sovereigns. I said, "Madam, they're not." She turned around to me and she says, because I was a little bit older than the young girl behind the counter, and she says, would you know the difference between a sovereign and a half sovereign? I said, yes. The half sovereign is about the size of a 5-cent piece, and the sovereign is just a little bit smaller than a 10-cent piece. Oh, rubbish. I said, look, I'm only talking about sizes. Hang on. I've got a half sovereign in my pocket. I've got a sovereign in my pocket here, which has been clipped. And on this coin, the one and only coin minted in Australia, it said on it, one sovereign. She had a good look at it, compared it, and nearly broke down in tears. And this is the problem with the coinage, English coinage. At the last auction here at the INS, I bought a third of a guinea. I would like to apologise for getting old and getting a little bit senile, but the other day, at happy hour in my pub at Woi Woi, the old Woi Woi Hotel, at $4 for a schooner of 2 years old, I put my two $4 coins, and Hazel said, George, she said, that's a 10-cent piece. That's not a dollar. It's bad light. And I try not to wear glasses, and it was my mistake. But how in the world would you expect foreigners who can't say a word of English to read $20 or even one sovereign? And sovereign is a mongrel of a word in English. I kept on teaching the tellers, especially in Italy, all the way to Bologna from up north, from Turin. Sovereign, S-O-V-E-R-I-N, sovereign. Ma inglesi sterlinghi d'oro, English sterling in gold. It's the only word, and that was the only common name for a sovereign in Europe, from about 64 to 69 till I left the place. And so that's the story on the gold there.
I'm going to go.
We got gold tinnies, have we?
Now you do it.
Nice chocolate.
I'll get down the other side.
Well, somebody mentioned earlier about what's gold used
Do you
for.
want to put down?
Well, believe it or not, use it for badges
You take it.
as well. So I've brought in some gold items, and actually you put it up the right way. It's got written on it all what it is, so I don't have to really carry on about it. So that's whole of the United Commercial. That's pretty rare. It's only been given to the commercial travellers going way back for, I guess, selling lots of stuff, and so there's not too many of those around. So I've been told by a dealer who knows these things that don't get rid of it cheap. So I said, I want it. So this is one that somebody will know a little bit about.
It's the other side.
Pardon?
So that's the reverse.
Oh yeah, right. We don't have commercial travellers anymore. We only have crooks.
Ah, the two rubies.
There's a two ruby. Rod knows all about that.
I've got a 2 ruby at home.
I've got a 1 and a 2. Is that the only one that only goes to 2, does it?
No.
Is it a lot more?
No, it
is
goes to 4 rubies and then on to diamonds.
Oh, right.
Is this for service to Qantas?
No, this is the years of
Years
service.
of service, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 years you get your first badge, 15 years you get 2 rubies, gets 1 ruby, 20 years 2 rubies, and then on.
I don't see.
A friend of mine has left recently, and he's worked there 55 years,
Good.
and he's
So what are
just
they-
retired.
So what do they give him?
don't know.
Gold-plated car or something?
No, the Qantas today doesn't give you much.
No, I don't think it
Can
no,
assure
they're
you.
not making the money, are they? They used to.
The Qantas, those days when I used to work for it, was quite generous.
This is a nice little, actually, it's a brooch probably more than anything else. There's a lady here who would like to wear that. It's a very nice little gold coin with Australia in the middle there. It's just a voided brooch. Obviously been made by possibly a jeweller for somebody, and that's it. So it's found its way into my collection. These are sought after. A few of you guys will probably know all about these. Some of you might even collect them if you can get hold of them. And New South Wales First Aid Corps. They produce those basically every year. I've got quite a few more of them at home, but I didn't bring them in because they've actually got a sort of a threaded area and a nut on the back of it. And where I've got it actually in my plastic container, I've worked it out, but go and get it out is a bit difficult, so I didn't bother. So I sort of brought these ones along. So that's one of the first aid ones for members. Craig, there's a pocket knife. That's part of the thing. There's another gold badge there. That's the Royal Association for Justices of South Australia Incorporated. Thing is with these, with the badges, and of course being in gold, they're nice designs and nice patterns and nice colours and so forth, which is typical of collecting badges. Sometimes coins are a bit sameness, you know. Sorry about that, but I'm a coin collector as well. This is an area which people sort of collect, of course, military areas, war chest day. They weren't struck for just general sort of selling or anything like that. They were for probably individuals involved in the war chest, you know, people who were high up and running the show, and they were struck. Now, whether it's for a period of time they worked or whether it's just because of the position they hold, I'm not sure. But you don't see too many of them around. This is an interesting one. This badge is probably quite rare. Stuart White was when I was working there in Nobles. I had this coin in there for some reason, and I can't remember why. And we were talking about values, and Stuart looked at it. He said, "I'll give you $200 for that," just like that. So it's probably worth $250. But so obviously it's a pretty hard badge to get hold of. There's another one there for the New South Wales Railways. They punch them out every year. The design changes too, slightly. New South Wales will get bigger or smaller. They change the wording, do other changes with them. So they're not all sameness. They're all yearly struck and all a little bit different. Order of Easter Star. Of course, anything that's involved with these people, there's lots of gold is used, as we all see them around the place, and it's a nice decorated star with enamel on it, and don't see too many of them around either. Let's follow on from the same vein there. There's a Masonic Lodge, because that's in the eastern one. That's involved with the Masonic organisation as well. That's the typical sort of compass and square that sort of a trademark or sign mark for the Masonic lodges, and that's one that people wear. You know, you see quite large ones of those. Exhibits and put on chains around their neck and the like. But that one's just a badge.
This is the city of Melbourne. Now, that's incorporated there in 1842. Councillor Wesley, yeah, that's a 15 carat, that one. There's another one similar to that too, I think it is. Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works, another. These are probably struck and given it to individuals, I suppose, that are sort of high up in the organisation. They're not just willy-nilly sort of given out here, there and everywhere. So, yeah, there's a commissioner or so, I suppose. He's the recipient of that. Okay. No makers marks?
If it's not on the thing, no.
No, it's no.
No.
NM
Yeah,
is.
I've got NM on those, there's no manufacturer. Yep, NM means no manufacturer if it's on them. Now I brought some other ones in here. Now these some of these are one-offs because they're gold. They've been given to individuals in sporting arena. That's the New South Wales Football Association. I brought some of these in because we see once again here with badges the change in design and patterns and the like. And Smith Sunlight Company, Mr. Weber. I can't quite figure out why I don't have no manufacturer there. Presented to Lee Brothers, one by Balmain. Naughty boy. Here's another one from the, once again, the New South Wales Football Association. Right. Another changing design and pattern. Another one there from the same organisation. Recipient, 9 carat. Yep. This one is a little different. This is TP, I don't quite know what that is, but it's a golf club, no doubt, because there's some golf sticks on it. But that's another one. I don't know what the TP is. Probably have no way of finding out either, if that matter. Now, this H. Paps, I presume that's the gentleman's name. There, Leichhardt Juniors, small H. Kerr, I think that's the manufacturer, Kerr, in that particular case. So Paps is the guy's name, and Leichhardt Juniors, and Kerr's the manufacturer. Was they manufactured much?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kerr?
No.
Oh, I haven't got too much of them, no. Just 2 more and that's it. MS is the Football Association here. There's another nice design there. Nice illustrated, no manufacturer there. J. Lyons obviously recipient there. 1929 carat, yep.
As I mentioned, Tony, to you on the way in, Jack Grace has done this book on them, and I think he goes into the manufacturers quite a bit with that.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got to see this.
So he would go to the manufacturer, not because of what's on the back, but he finds out through the, yeah, okay. No, I haven't done that.
Yeah.
Too much like hard work. President Company, Ingham, that's a manufacturing there. ESB Ingham, that's a
the Football Association here and recipient there, of course, as we see. And President's Cup won by, oh, Paps again. Well, there you go. He must be a good kicker of a soccer ball. Well, there. That's it, folks. The show's over.
Ross. Have I missed anyone else?
I've got some.
You got
So,
some?
like the previous speakers, I'm extremely passionate about gold. I don't know when it started, not as early as George, but maybe back in One Gala Road days, right? You know, when I had my racing bike frame painted gold. That might have been when I got a bit of a buzz for gold. But, you know, I've tacked a slightly different way because, you know, a lot of beautiful coins and medals and what on display, but it's gives me a buzz in two ways, and I've had a pretty exciting week, and so I've got to have a brag. And one takes me back to memories of 1992 when we were granted the tender to produce medals for the sesquicentenary of Sydney, and especially this week, and we did the royal visit. So, you know, this involved designing it and with the help of Amors, and he produced one for me in gold at my expense, of course. But they're good memories. But then, to try and excite Les, my buzz for the week was that I had 3 days out at the Royal Easter Show. Entered 4 of the birds, and you know, this takes you on a slightly different level with collecting medals and such. But each one was awarded. There was 80 parrots, 800 birds all up, and so you choose your birds a week before or something, and titivate the cages, make sure the cages are regulation. I had to go through with the rules and regulations, and of course, you know, typical me, you know, I have to go and conquer them because they come back to me and say in black and white, you know, you've got to put enough seed in the cage for the birds for 3 days of the show, and the stewards will change the water. So I wrote back to them and said, well, sorry, that's no good to me because my birds have fresh fruit and vegetables twice a day. So I require that in writing, otherwise I'm withdrawing it. Anyway, duly came through. It was never a problem. I had done this a number of years before. This was returning to the show after the last one was 2015. So what happens, I'll just run through the best bird. Eclectus parrot, and he's in the broadtail class. So out of about half a dozen, he got first. The other cockbird that I had got a second. Then the hens, one got the first and one got a third.
Were they all eclectus?
Yes,
Yep.
that's where I'm boring. I only have eclectus.
I can
So
understand that.
then you go to champion, and you're looking at champion broadtail, and so they bring in all the broadtails, and we got champion broadtail, and we got reserve champion broadtail. Then they get all the champions from the parrots, and there was about 9 of them. 2 or 3 of them being past grand champions. Some of these guys are show junkies, and they get their birds and all they do is spoil them all year and whatever, and don't breed with them. And and bring them out for shows. Where my satisfaction with this really came to light, previously when I've won the award, I've bought the birds in to improve the breeding stock. This time I entered 4 birds that I'd actually hand reared, and the hand rearing involves about 300 feeds each before they're weaned, and then they go into the aviaries. So we ended up getting selected grand champion.
Oh, well, congratulations.
And with the grand champion, you get further awards, and this is what I was really after. It was quite a nice medal.
Made by Millers.
Made by Millers. And when I've only had a look at these today more closely, with the past ones that I've got, we'll just put this up and try and brighten your eyes up and see whether you can see the difference between, because I've won it 4 times in total, but when I've been in touch with Millers, they say the mintage is approximately 300 are struck, and then the RAS draw on them annually. Metal's brass with an antique gold finish lacquered. Whether you can pick up these 2 at once and see if you can see any difference. And that's what's made it even more interesting, because it turns out to be different dyes used, and they've actually engraved them. So, can you get those, just those 2 if possible, please?
You've showed us these before,
Yes, I have. But
with the differences as well.
can you, pardon? One's was 2010, the other's 2015. I won it a previous year to those, but they weren't handing out medals. But I certainly got excited when they started including medals. You can't.
Well, there's a guy behind. Well, that guy
what they ended up
behind has
doing,
disappeared.
They added wood chopping on.
Yeah,
There's
the
a chook out
wood
at
chopper's,
the one on the
he's
left.
gone.
It's getting too late to worry about it. And there's a few other little incidentals, but it just shows you that they ended up using different dyes.
Well, the chook's gone as well.
Yeah. But with this one, it's obviously a new dye, because it's proof finish. Proof. Oh no, sorry, I meant to say, what is it, gem uncirculated? I'll get it slabbed anyway, and they'll tell me what it is.
Bronze? Slab you?
Bronze?
Brass, with a gold finish for the evening. And they also bestowed on me nice item here, like that bookend or something. So all good. A friend of mine entered the photographic contest and won it, and they accept entries from all around the world, only one photo each, and he won that. It's $4,000. Carol with the quilts gets about $400 or $500 when she wins the best quilt. We're working on one for next year, but I think that's my swan song, really, the birds. Now, to keep up the gold thing going, you can collect associated things with gold. It just goes on and on and on. But this was a gold weight for 100 sovereigns. Or, geez, the eyes are going well.
You want me glasses?
What is it? It goes. I have got.
Gonna say,
I'm just being shy.
I'll lend you
What
these
did I
every
do?
time we're
Oh,
in.
they're up here. I need glasses. Right, what's it say? 25 ounces, 15 dwarfs. And what's the other 15? So it's 25.13.15 for 100 sovereigns. So that's an item. And then quickly, as I say, you go and rabbit through lots of things. There's a couple of freebies if anybody wants. Catalogues.
These ones come up slightly better because they have a slightly matter finish to them. Rose gold and this one.
You go into the library, Prospector's Guide, and it's surprising what's in there. Postcards, and that's I try and because a lot of the gold share certificates are fairly plain. I try and have a bit of colour in there with a postcard. Then some genuine photographs of reasonable nugget that was found in Western Australia. Back to the Haldeman ones. I went down to the mine. Is it the mines? Mine office. There was a government mine office down the Quayway somewhere, and the guy had hundreds of photographs. And he said, "Just take what you want, Ross." This was years ago. But that's the Haldeman one. That's Haldeman, and with the finds at Bathurst at the time. It's a shows you that how pretty tough work. There's sluice cradle. And then the other challenge was to get a miner's right from each state. And so we've got Queensland, New South Wales. These are always fairly grotty because they've been folded up and they've got to be kept on the person. I've lost one by the look of these. Western Australia, that was some are on vellum, and this one's on linen. So that was in 1900. And a Tasmanian one, 1893, and a Victorian one, which you normally see in a paper form, but this one's on vellum, an early one. South Australia. And then this was for very early, 1853, a private goldfield in Goulburn. And then my talk at the conference is going to be about the Melbourne Mint. But we won't go quite into that, but this is a typical piece of paper, that a receipt for gold that's been brought in, and what was it? It was weight before melting, 1.49 ounces, weight after melting, 1.48, assay report of gold, 92%, assay report of silver, 0.50%, standard gold, 1.49, and the standard gold rate at that stage was £3.17 and 10 halfpenny per ounce, so you got £5.16. Quaint, isn't it, eh? And then just a little bit more paper work. Oh, one way there. That'll do. I could go on for more, but I don't. I think more.
Here's 10. Yeah.
You want to have a break, don't you?
We haven't finished. I've got mine.
Oh,
and
yours,
Ian's
sorry.
got his. There's more.
Goodness gracious.
I didn't bring anything.
Oh, you've got to have.
Okay.
You've got to collect the sovereign. Case. They're rather scarce in that condition too. I think that might be an 18 carat one.
1
Got to Rob Carroll's jewellery somewhere. Right, that'll do.
Okay, Rod, you're up.
Okay, I'll only be
Well done with your feathered friends. Well done.
We're going to take one of the parrots out of the bag.
While Rodney's getting set up, I had to talk to the judge afterwards. He turned out to be an ex-Panky too, and he reckoned he was in the CBA at West Wyalong as a teller, and a woman brought in a Adelaide pound to him. And but he did the right thing and said, no, you should take that to a coin dealer and get it valued.
okay. I'm sure we all remember these. The old koala. I can remember when it came out, and we all rushed in and bought the mint, the proof one and the uncirculated one. And then we discovered that the amount of gold in it wasn't worth $200, you know, it was worth $150 or something like that, and thought, oh, what a clip. And I think for years after that, we'll say, oh, you know, rubbish, the government's cheated us all again. But now we have the last laugh.
The thing was this, I think we wanted to buy more than just one, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we only got one.
Only allowed one.
Because there wasn't enough to go around. I wanted 10 or something or other.
Yeah.
We
So
couldn't get them.
But
And the bottom fell out of the whole market next year.
but these $200 gold ones at the height of the gold boom recently, when gold was 2,000 US and our dollar was 73 cents, they had $770 worth of gold in them, and Jim was buying them at $700 or so. And I sold a few for my friend, and I was thinking to myself, God, I'm a mug, I should have sold mine at the same time. Got some money for it. The other bits of pieces, I don't have a lot of gold, but occasionally there is a bit. So when John Bradman died in 2001, they put out this $20 gold coin for him. So it's a bimetallic gold silver coin. Also, they produced this $50 coin for the Commonwealth Games. So it's a trimetallic because it's copper, silver and gold. So it's a Commonwealth Games in 2002. So it was a nice one. And the only other bit of gold I'll show you tonight is this New Zealand one. New Zealand have only produced one bimetallic coin, and it was in 1994 for their 50 cents. It was the 50 cent New Zealand coin has the Endeavour on it, and in 94 they put out a bimetallic one, which was copper nickel ring and aluminium bronze centre, but they also
Is that the bimetallic one, is it?
yeah. But they also produced one in white gold and gold as well. So, as a bimetallic collector, I had to have them both, and so that's it. So thank you very much. I
haven't missed anyone. Okay, well I'll finish off tonight with 3 pieces that I brought along. I would have thought that a few more people would have had a half sovereigns, but well, yeah, found this one. It's Queen Victoria's. I believe this one, I'm pretty sure it's just an English half sovereign. But it's 1899, I think it was.
We've got a pretty rubbish half sovereign one in the auction too. Very worn.
Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure it's English.
Yeah, there's no mint mark there.
Yeah. I got hold of a couple of Russian gold coins, and John, you were talking about the different certificates that you had. I think it was referring to this particular coin, wasn't it?
Is that evidence?
Just try to show that one to him.
Is that pre?
Yeah, this is 1973, I think it is.
Oh no, they started reproducing it.
The 19
RSFSR,
Yeah,
Russian Soviet Federated Socialist Republic.
yeah, 1975. There's,
1975.
modern day Russian coin. And then I got this one here, which is Nicholas II. It 10 ruble coin.
Is that a 10 rubles?
Yeah, 10 ruble. If my reading is correct, that was the last coin of the Tsar regime. Because Nicholas II was the end of the line.
They were assassinated in
Sorry?
1917, the Romanovs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my little contribution as well for tonight. All right, look, we're running out of time anyway, but don't forget we've got our refreshments and we've got the auction to deal with. So yeah, by all means, just pick out the ones that you want to bid on and give them to Rod, so that we can get through this as quickly as possible. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.